Joe here for Joyrider TV. What we're going to look at today is single-handed Hobie 16 sailing. We've got probably between 12 and 15 knots of wind. I've got a Hobie 16 and just me. Let's go and see what we can find. Okay, it's a little bit crowded for the launch with these moorings here, so I'm just going to take the boat into plenty of space for launching. The sails are well eased. I've got the downhaul off, making sure I don't let the boat go away from head to wind. I'm pushing from the back though, just to go a bit faster as we try to get away from these moored boats. The back of the boat is the worst possible place that you could hold a boat, so I'm just going to do this as quickly as possible and making sure not to let the boat turn from head to wind. Now I'm just going to let it slip back a little bit more. Now ready to go, and off we go. Taking control of the main sheet as soon as possible, and we're just going to get into some space, and then the first job that we'll have to do is set the jib traveller and the downhaul. So I'm going to go into as much space as possible to do this. Even in this wind, which, yeah, it's probably no more than 10 knots at the moment, I'm going to pull the downhaul on pretty hard to get the mainsail as flat as possible, because for one person the sail area on a 16 is pretty juicy. Right, so just heading up here. All right, jib traveller I'm going to set all the way out, in fact, and I'll just pull the jib sheet through a bit so that it's available on the windward side. Then the downhaul, going to pull it all the way on, which generally is to the top of the warning sticker on the mast. Just there, that is generally what we'd call all the way on. Depends how stretched your sail is, of course. Okay, now we're ready to go. We're going to start off with close reach, and then with the traveller and the main sheet, we're using the traveller kind of as gears and then the main sheet as the throttle. So we're going to set the traveller in a generally correct position, and in the main sheet we're going to respond to the gusts. So for this wind I've got the traveller maybe just inside the tow strap, and then we'll just see how much power that gives us. We can change that later. With the relationship between the jib traveller and the main traveller, the jib traveller always wants to be either as far out as the main traveller or a little bit more. And then the jib is going to have a little bit loose so that we don't have to worry about it too much. So we've got a bit of wind, checking our area, looks clear. So I'm going to sheet in, and I'm going to move out onto the trapeze. Good idea for single-handed, set the trapeze lengths a little bit shorter, just for a bit more security. And here we go, and we're off. Looking for the gusts. So, we're on a close reach. I'm just using the main sheet for the majority of the power, steering into the wind if we get hit by a big gust. There's big gusts coming, so we'll see how this works out. Yeah, steering a little bit, easing a little bit of main sheet. As the boat settles, we'll pull the main sheet in again, and then we're continuing here. Okay, so I'm going to pull the jib in a bit more. I left the jib sheet quite conveniently, really cranking the jib in now. That should flatten the jib off, reducing the power on the more upwind points of sail. Now I'm feeling like we've got rather a lot of power for my weight. So I'm going to let the traveller off a bit. If you notice how I did that, I'll do it again. So what I'll do is I'll take the main sheet and I'll just put it in the water a little bit, that allows us to get hold of the traveller rope. And then I'm just going to ease that out. Main sheet is in the stick hand for this, so we still have all of the ropes. And now we can start cranking it from this position. Now there's a windsurfer. I'm going to have to go just downwind of him. If we have to, in this sort of breeze, if we have to turn downwind, just easing out a little bit. And there's another one. Vasiliki, of course, very popular, as well as for sailing, very popular indeed for windsurfing. So right now it's probably gusting up to about 16 knots, and on this we're pretty much upwind now, so I'm moving as far forwards as the tiller extension will allow, and it does feel like we could use another 50 kilos on the trapeze, but we've only got what we've got. So we're using a combination, as before, of steering and main sheet to keep the boat under control. Now we've got some windsurfers. I think it's going to be far safer here to go down, so I'm sheeting out, easing the sheets, moving back slightly, so we'll go under the windsurfer. And now we've got under him, we can start heading back up again. Good idea to keep an eye on your ropes at all times. At the moment I've got the main sheet hooked around the corner casting on the trampoline, so I want to get that off there. For single-handed sailing especially, it's a very good idea to develop a technique for holding the main sheet and the tiller extension in the same hand, for when you need to do small tasks like that. Okay, so this is very good. So we're going to go for a bear away. Two ways we could do this, from going from upwind to downwind. We could do it from on the trapeze or from sitting on the boat. Depends how windy it is and how you want to end up. Something to consider is, after the bear away, if you're still out on the trapeze but you want to go in, it's going to be a bit fruitier because the boat's going to be going quickly. So usually worth going in first in this scenario and bearing away from on the boat. So I'm just going to move in onto the trapeze, again changing my main sheet to the stick hand. There we are, unhooking once we're on the boat. Again, I've snagged the main sheet on the corner there. Alright, I'm going to ease a load of jib before we bear away. Alright, and now I'm going to go for the bear away. I'm just going to ease the main sheet off as I turn the corner. Some juicy gust coming, let's see what happens. Woo-hoo! And there we are. And now on the downwind, we're just going to, I'll maybe ease the traveller out a little bit more. This is the same as if you're sailing with two people, except occasionally you might have to reset the jib. We're going to sail downwind, just keeping the apparent wind on the boat. There'll be a video about apparent wind coming soon. But the wind that you can see on your wind indicators coming across the boat at 90 degrees. There we go. Okay, so we're going to jibe shortly. On the jibe, we're going to jibe first, sort out the jib afterwards. Perhaps what we could do for convenience is release that jib traveller now, so then it's done. Okay, so here we go, we're going for a jibe. Turning downwind, it's going slack. Woo! Just trying to stay cool there as the boat lifted a hull. All right, now a little bit of sheet management needed. So uncleating the old jib sheet, pulling the new jib traveller, and then sheeting the new jib sheet in. There we go. I let the main sheet go completely, which wasn't intentional, but it's no disaster by any means. And here we go, we're still sailing the boat, trying to keep those wind indicators at 90 degrees across the boat. So this is standard for any catamaran sailing without a spinnaker. You're just sailing the boat downwind, watching those wind indicators, keeping them flying straight across the boat like that. Okay, we're going to go downwind a little bit more before we alter our course. In the gusts, what I'm doing is just easing a little bit of main sheet, turning the boat more downwind, which is going to help to take the power off a little bit, and it will take us a bit further downwind. The ideal time to jibe is just after a gust, because that's when the boat feels like it's almost like it's freewheeling. So here we go, there's a gust, just easing out slightly and turning downwind, and then coming back as that gust goes. So as we head up here, we're not going to need to bring the traveller in because it's pretty windy now. I reckon it's probably 18 knots. I'll just keep the jib sheet close to the side of the boat. I'll hook on. Coming up towards the wind, the jib's flapping already, so I'll pull it in a bit. Just make sure that the windward sheet is uncleated. Put the jib sheet in a handy position. And now out onto the trapeze. Now sheeting the jib a little bit more. We're going to try banging it upwind a little bit. So getting as far forwards as possible. Trying to keep the boat fairly flat. Okay, we're going to go for a tack shortly. What we'll do with the tack, because we're short of hands and it is quite windy, is I'm going to release the jib before we go into the tack. And then, as with all tacking of catamarans, the thing that's most important is firstly which way the boat is pointing, and that will be as close to the wind as possible before we go into the tack. And then the second most important thing is what we do with our main sheet, and that'll be to have the main sheet in as tight as possible as we go into the tack. There'll be a video coming soon specifically on tacking, but right now just going to see how this goes. Yeah, it's probably 20 knots now. This wind is really picking up. It's about 20 past 2 in the afternoon here in Vasiliki. This is when the wind generally does pick up. Woo! So we are, we're getting pulled over just on the jib there. Oh, gone a little bit too high. If you go too high and it feels like you're stalling, by letting a load of main sheet out, that's really going to help. Okay, so I'm going to get onto the boat first, chucking the rope out of the way, coming in, easing a little bit of sheet as we're coming in. Of course, this can all be refined if you want to race or you just want to make it look a bit prettier. And now here we go. So we're getting ready. So like I said, I'm going to ease the jib sheet off a bit first, just so we don't get pulled over on the jib. Then I've brought the traveller in a bit already, checking where we're going to turn. Main sheet's in tight. Here we go. Try not to hit the camera with the tiller extension. And now taking the jib sheet, pulling it in. Let's get the nose round a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to let that off again. Pull the jib traveller all the way out. And we're off again. Sheeting in. And we're going to go for another tack. I think so. I've got the jib pretty loose. Gonna let the jib traveller off first, so it's done. Unhooking, pushing away. Boom's a bit lower than normal. There we go. Better one that time. So as well as sheeting the main in, it's equally important to let the mainsail out as soon as the boat is head to wind, which is indicated by the jib. backing. Yeah, this, in fact, I'll just boop, square that up a bit. I might have clipped that on the way through. Here we go. And if you don't want to trapeze when you're single-handed, it's all right, you don't have to. All you need to do, again, we'll just do our jib traveller because it's quite windy. If it's not windy, you don't have to do this on the upwind. But because it's quite windy, we're having to do this. We can let the main traveller out, never all the way to the end. We've got to stop a knot in the traveller line to stop it from going all the way to the end. And here from sitting on the boat, we're doing exactly the same as before, using a combination of main sheet and steering to keep the boat under control. But we're just not going to go as fast because we're not trapezing. Okay, maybe we'll go for one more tack, checking the area that we're going to tack into, letting off the jib traveller, jib sheet, bringing the main traveller in a bit. And here we go. Okay, I've just had to reverse the rudders a little bit there to get us through. So if you stop while you're head to wind, it might be necessary to reverse the rudders because at that point the boat is going backwards for a second. So here we go, just give that the tweak. Q. Right, we're going to go for one more tack and then we're going to head onto our beam reach, which should be quite spectacular. Or should we buzz the photo boat? Of course we should. So, bring the jib traveller out. Not too much jib this time because it is really pretty windy. Going to let the traveller out all the way to the knot. So we're about 15 centimetres off the end of the track there. Hooking on, sheeting the main in till we've got the hull's just lifting ever so slightly. And then there we are out on the trapeze. And we're going to bang it down on a reach to the photo boat. Here we go. This is where lack of weight isn't so much of a problem, it's more of a joy. Don't know if there's a photographer on board just yet, but all right, so in the gusts, moving back. If the gust dies down, moving forward slightly. There we go. Yeah, there is a photographer on board. Perhaps they don't know, but there's some buffoon on a Hobie 16 out here. Woohoo! Scream if you want to go faster. Scream if you want to go slower. Better off just not screaming. Okay. Big gust coming. Let's see what happens. Alright, we'll go for one more jibe and then we'll head back on a beam reach. So I'm going to come in off the boat, off the trapeze first, jib off a little bit, jib traveller off. Just chucking the stick off the back so I don't want to hit the camera. Coming downwind. Here we go, keep carrying that momentum through. There we go, nice easy one there. Bringing it back up. Changing the jib sheets over. Jib traveller. Making sure the jib sheet is by the side of the boat. Now, so the jib's just flapping slightly, but that's okay, because we don't want the power in the jib. In this wind, it's probably peaking at over 20 knots now. Wind really coming up. Wind surface is starting to plane. That's a good sign. Up with the main flapping a bit as well, but like with the jib, we're not too worried about that. Okay, wind's pretty steady here, so I've got the traveller out all the way, the main sheet block to block, and we're just using the steering to control the power. So it's quite a low maintenance, low effort way of sailing the boat. I'm trapezing as hard as I can, so getting all of my weight out, trying to keep my head back as much as possible as well. More weight there. Watching the bow, a bit of a gust there, so just steering for it. We're just going to finish off with a little 2-sail reach, which will be nice. Hopefully the jib won't be too tight. Okay, so moving back first before bearing away, just to be on the safe side. And here we go, coming forwards a bit now. We made that turn. And just giving it a good bit of a leg stretcher there. It's Alan, FX1. So just trimming the weight to how much bow is out of the water, bit of a lull there. So I go forwards a bit. Next gust is coming, so I might have to jump back a bit. I've got the main sheet out of the cleat in case you have to dump very quickly. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at getting it out of the cleat, but even so, I prefer to sail with it out of the cleat when it is a bit gusty like it is just here. Okay, and the wind's shifted a little bit, so we're having to sail a bit closer to the wind now. So I'm going to be a bit trapezing a bit further forwards generally. Quite a gust coming here. Let's see what happens. Possibly nothing. Okay, so we want to bring the boat up towards the wind a little bit more. So I'm going to bring in a bit of jib. Going to need a bit of traveller as well. So again, I've transferred the main sheet to my stick hand, so I can bring the traveller in. If at any point you want to sail closer to the wind, but you can't, if your traveller is out, you can bring your traveller in, and that should enable you to sail a bit closer. Woohoo! Lifting the hull. If we did capsize in these conditions, there's a strong chance I wouldn't have the weight to get the boat back upright with any amount of technique. We need a bit more wind to bring the boat back upright if we're single-handed. I'm 85 kilos or thereabouts. You need about maybe 100, 120 kilos to bring a 16 up if there's no wind. Okay, so almost there. So coming in off the trapeze, I'm going to completely dump the jib now. I'm going to do as much now as I can, so there's no last minute panic as we reach the beach. So I'm letting the downwind off as well. Checking out this windsurfer. He's okay. Oh, you thought it was okay. It's a bit close. Trying to keep the boat fairly high, making sure I'm not tangled up, so I'm ready to jump off the boat when we reach our destination. Basically doing as much as possible to make this as easy as possible. Rope on the foot, that's not going to help. Here we go, so coming in, here we go, there's Charlotte, who's known for the other 16 video, and there we are, and we made it. Woohoo! Yeah. Okay, if you haven't got someone to grab your boat for you, you will have to get off the boat and grab it at the front. Never take the main sheet off until your boat is being securely held in the shallow water. But there we are. Thank you very much, Charlotte. I've got it now. Okay, once again, I hope you found this video useful in some way. If there's any aspect of your catamaran sailing, whether it's a Hobie 16 or anything else, do let me know, and I'll try to fill you in on the details of what you could do better or differently, or how something works. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel. If you'd like to get involved, please check out the link below. Thank you very much.